My fiancé said, "Send me $2,000 or I'll ruin you," I replied, recorded. Then I canceled their return flights, emptied our account, posted the receipts online, and I just smiled because she never expected her family and job to turn on her fast. Original post: I've been with Rebecca, 29F, for 3 years. She works in marketing for some tech startup. I own a small construction company in Orange County that I built from nothing after getting out of the Marines. Things moved fast, but felt right. We got engaged last Christmas and spent the last year planning what was supposed to be our dream wedding. The wedding was at the Montage in Laguna Beach. Not cheap, but we'd saved up for 2 years and wanted it to be special. My whole family flew in from Kansas. Her family's local plus friends from college work the Marines. I was wearing my grandfather's cufflinks. She wore her grandmother's pearls. Everything seemed perfect that morning. Here's where it gets completely messed up. During the ceremony, right when the officiant asks if anyone objects, that part that's supposed to be just ceremonial that nobody takes seriously, this guy Tyler stands up from the back row. Rebecca never mentioned he was coming, and I sure as hell didn't invite him. For context, Tyler is Rebecca's ex from about 3 years ago. Real bad boy type, leather jacket, motorcycle, works as a bartender at some dive in downtown Santa Ana. Rebecca always said he was too immature and irresponsible. That's supposedly why they broke up. Rebecca said they were completely over and hadn't spoken in years. So Tyler stands up and starts talking loud enough for everyone to hear, completely confident like he'd rehearsed this. He says I'm controlling and emotionally abusive, and that Rebecca is too scared to break up with me because I've isolated her from her friends. Says she still loves him and he can make her happy in ways I never could. Says he's here to rescue her from a life of misery. The whole chapel goes dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop. My groomsmen looked ready to tackle this guy. My mom gasped so loud I heard it from the altar. Rebecca's parents looked mortified. I'm standing there in my tux, totally blindsided. My first thought was, this guy's having some kind of breakdown, or maybe he was drunk or on something. I looked at Rebecca, expecting her to shut this down, maybe call security, definitely tell Tyler to get the hell out. She didn't. She just stood there shaking, still holding her bouquet, looking back and forth between me and Tyler. The officiant asked if she wanted to continue with the ceremony, and after what felt like forever, she said no. She said Tyler was right about everything, that she'd been miserable with me but didn't know how to end it, that I was controlling and she felt trapped. That she loves Tyler and always has, and she can't marry me knowing that. Then she took off her engagement ring, handed it to me along with her bouquet, walked down the aisle, took Tyler's hand, and they left together just like that in front of everyone. The chapel was chaos after that. People didn't know what to do. Some followed them outside. Others just sat there in shock. The photographer was still taking pictures like maybe this was part of the ceremony somehow. The reception was already paid for, so people kind of awkwardly hung around for a while. The hotel manager was amazing. She handled everything professionally and made sure the vendors got sorted out. My groomsmen were incredible too. They kept people away from me while I figured out what to do next. My mom was crying. Her mom kept apologizing over and over, saying she had no idea. It was a complete nightmare. I ended up changing out of my tux in the hotel room we'd booked for the wedding night and driving home while my brothers dealt with the aftermath. Most humiliating day of my life, hands down. I'm back home now trying to make sense of this. Part of me keeps thinking there has to be more to the story. Rebecca never seemed unhappy. We had normal relationship disagreements, but nothing major. The timing feels way too convenient. Tyler just happening to be there, having the balls to interrupt a wedding, knowing exactly what to say to make me sound like an abuser. Something doesn't add up. I found some weird charges on our joint account from the past few weeks. Nothing huge, but stuff I didn't recognize. Random cash withdrawals, some online purchases that don't make sense. I'm going to look into it more tomorrow when the bank opens. I don't even know what I'm asking for here. Advice, validation that this is as up as it seems. How to handle the fact that half our town thinks I'm some kind of monster now. I feel like I'm trapped in a bad movie and can't find the exit. Has anyone been through something like this? How do you even begin to move on? How do you trust your judgment about people after something like this? Edit to answer some questions. Yes, we lived together for about 18 months. All our stuff is mixed up at the house we were renting in Iran. No, I haven't heard from her since she left the chapel. Her phone goes straight to voicemail. Update 11. You guys were right to be suspicious. This gets so much worse than I originally thought. First, thank you to everyone who reached out. The support has honestly been the only thing keeping me sane this week. So, I went to the bank Monday morning to look at those charges I mentioned. I brought all our joint account documentation and asked to see detailed statements going back 3 months. The banker was really helpful once I explained the situation. Apparently, wedding fraud isn't uncommon. Turns out Rebecca had been making small cash withdrawals for about 3 weeks. $50 here, $80 there. Nothing that would trigger alerts or that I'd notice in our day-to-day expenses, but it adds up to about $800 total. When I asked to see detailed online purchase history, I found something that made my blood run cold. She bought 2 plane tickets to New York. Round trip, departing Saturday morning, the day after our wedding, returning the following Thursday. Let that sink in. While we were supposed to be on our honeymoon in Maui, while I was stressing about final headcounts and vendor payments, she was booking a romantic getaway with her ex-boyfriend for the day after our freaking wedding. I called the airline to confirm the details. The tickets were purchased 3 weeks ago in Rebecca Thompson and Tyler Morrison's names using our joint Bank of America account. 5-day trip to JFK Hotel booked through Expedia at some boutique place in Manhattan. They're probably there right now pretending this was some spontaneous romantic gesture. But here's the kicker. Since the tickets were purchased with our joint account, I had authorization to make changes to the reservation. So I called back and canceled their return flights, both of them. They can figure out how to get home on their own dime. I also went to the bank and cleaned out our shared checking and savings accounts. Legally, it's all money I earned anyway since Rebecca just had access for wedding expenses and household bills. She contributed maybe 20% of what was in there. I left exactly enough to cover her half of this month's rent and utilities, but that's it. The account is now closed. Found more evidence too. Rebecca's laptop was still at the house, and when I opened it, I found her browser history. She'd been researching how to break up with someone you live with and ending engagement without losing deposits for weeks. Also found Google searches for romantic weekend getaways New York, dating back a month. What really pisses me off is how calculated the whole wedding day scene was. Tyler wasn't some desperate ex making a last-ditch effort to win her back. This was performance art. What really gets me is how unnecessary it was. She could have just broken up with me 6 months ago. Yes, it would have been embarrassing to cancel a wedding. We would have lost some deposits, but people would have understood. Couples get cold feet. Relationships end. Life happens. Instead, she chose to humiliate me in front of everyone I care about. Frame me as an abuser and make her look like the victim who needed rescuing. All because she didn't have it in her to admit she cheated. I've been staying at my buddy Dave's place in Newport because being in our apartment makes me physically sick. The smell of her perfume is still everywhere. Her coffee mug is still in the sink from Friday morning. It's like a crime scene. Yesterday, I went back to pack up all of Rebecca's stuff. I wasn't going to be petty about it. I carefully folded and boxed everything up. It took 4 hours to pack everything properly. I used good boxes, bubble wrap for fragile stuff, even labeled everything clearly. I wanted to handle this like a grown-up. Then I loaded it all in my work truck and drove to her parents' house. Her mom answered the door looking absolutely mortified. She started crying the moment she saw me. I didn't say anything dramatic, just these are Rebecca's belongings, and started unloading boxes. Mrs. Thompson kept apologizing and trying to help carry stuff. She said Rebecca hadn't come home yet, and they didn't know where she was staying. The only note I left was a printed copy of the bank statement showing the New York tickets. Her dad called me about an hour later. He was furious, not at me, at Rebecca. Apparently, Rebecca told them she was having some doubts about the wedding, but never mentioned Tyler or that they'd been in contact. Mr. Thompson actually asked if there was anything he could do to help cover the wedding expenses, which was more than decent of him. I told him the deposits were my problem to deal with, but I appreciated the gesture. He said Rebecca's actions were unforgivable and that he was ashamed of his daughter. That actually made me feel a little better. My phone has been absolutely blowing up since word got around about what really happened. Mutual friends are pissed. My cousin Sarah posted something on Facebook about wedding crashers and home wreckers without naming names, but everyone in our circle knows exactly who she's talking about. It's gotten shared like 50 times already. Work has been a good distraction. We're in the middle of a big commercial renovation project downtown, and my crew has been awesome about not asking too many questions. Physical labor helps when your brain won't shut up. Edit. A few people have asked about the tickets. Yes, I have screenshots of everything before I canceled them. I've documented all of this in case I need it later. Tyler's older brother, Jake, reached out to me directly through Facebook. He said Tyler has been obsessed with Rebecca since they broke up 3 years ago, and Jake tried to talk him out of whatever this plan was. Jake apologized for his brother's behavior and said he'd help pay me back for the canceled tickets if I wanted. Seems like a stand-up guy who's embarrassed by his family. To the people saying I should pursue legal action, I've got a consultation with a lawyer friend on Friday. The joint account thing might be complicated, but using shared funds to plan an affair while engaged might qualify as theft or fraud. We'll see. Update 2. Holy you update 2 guys. This situation went completely nuclear and I'm still processing what happened. Rebecca crossed a line I didn't even know existed. So, after my last update about canceling their flights and closing the bank account, I thought that would be the end of it. I figured they'd find their own way home and I could start moving on with my life. Boy, was I wrong. Monday morning, my phone started blowing up. Rebecca called me 17 times between 6:00 a.m. and noon. When I didn't answer, she started texting, then calling from Tyler's phone, then from random numbers. The messages started out pathetic and apologetic, but quickly turned desperate and then hostile. Some examples of what she was sending. Michael, please pick up. We're stuck here and I'm scared. Tyler is freaking out and blaming me for everything. I need to come home. I know you're getting these messages. Stop being cruel. This is exactly the kind of controlling behavior I was talking about. That last one pissed me off because I wasn't controlling anything. I was just no longer funding her romantic getaway with another man, but I still didn't respond because honestly, what was the point? Tuesday evening, she finally got me on the phone. I was at Dave's place and made the mistake of answering a call from a number I didn't recognize. The conversation that followed was absolutely unhinged. Rebecca started out crying and begging me to fix this and send them money for flights home. When I told her that wasn't my problem anymore, she completely changed tactics. She said I was proving everything she said about me was true, and that canceling their flights was financial abuse. When I laughed at that and said she could ask Tyler's family for help since he was such a catch, she went full psycho. She said if I didn't send them $2,000 for flights and expenses immediately, she would make sure everyone in Orange County knew what kind of person I really was. She said she had been protecting me by not telling people about how I really treated her, but that she'd been documenting everything for months. She claimed she had photos of bruises I gave her complete. I never laid a hand on her, recordings of me screaming at her, also and text messages that would prove I was emotionally abusive. She said she'd post everything on social media, send it to my clients, contact my family members, and destroy my reputation if I didn't help her get home. I told her I'd recorded our conversation and hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the people at the wedding who heard her call me abusive, my business clients who might be wondering if there was any truth to it. My family members who were probably second-guessing everything they thought they knew about me. I realized that staying quiet and taking the high road was just giving her time to craft whatever narrative she wanted. She was already threatening to lie about me. What was stopping her from following through whether I paid her or not? Wednesday morning, I made a decision. If Rebecca wanted to play dirty, I'd show her what actual evidence looked like. I spent 3 hours putting together a comprehensive Facebook post with every piece of documentation I had. Bank statements showing the secret flight purchases, screenshots of her browser history planning the breakup for weeks, photos of me respectfully returning all her belongings. I also included screenshots of some of her text messages from the past few days. I ended the post by saying that while I was hurt by the wedding situation, I was sharing this information to protect myself against false allegations and to set the record straight about what actually happened. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within 6 hours, the post had been shared over 300 times. The comments were brutal. People calling Rebecca a sociopath, a scammer, a master manipulator. Mutual friends were apologizing for believing her version of events. People I barely knew were reaching out to offer support. Several people commented that this behavior was consistent with other things they'd witnessed, but never said anything about. Rebecca's college roommate revealed that Rebecca had cheated on her previous boyfriend with Tyler, then dumped Tyler when she met someone with more money. A guy from her marketing firm said she'd been flirting with him for months, despite being engaged. By Thursday, Rebecca's Instagram and Facebook were getting flooded with comments. People asking how she could do this to someone, calling her manipulative, tagging her employer's official accounts. Tyler got hit even worse. Someone called his bar and told them about the wedding situation. When they looked up the social media posts and saw Tyler was one of their employees, they suspended him immediately. Apparently, multiple customers had already called to complain after recognizing him. Thursday afternoon, Rebecca called me one more time. She was sobbing and begging me to take the post down, saying people were calling her work and she was afraid she'd lose her job. She admitted the whole wedding thing was Tyler's idea, but claimed she just went along with it because she was confused and didn't know how to handle the situation. The complete lack of accountability was stunning. Even when confronted with screenshots of her threatening to blackmail me, she tried to frame it as desperation rather than manipulation. She said I was ruining her life over one mistake. I told her that threatening someone's reputation and livelihood isn't a mistake, it's extortion. I said if she wanted the post taken down, she could start by publicly apologizing for the false abuse allegations and paying me back for the wedding expenses. She hung up on me. An hour later, Tyler called from a different number. He was furious, saying I had no right to destroy Rebecca's career and that he was going to come back and handle this personally. When I pointed out that he was currently stranded 3,000 miles away because of his own choices, he started backpedaling. Turns out they've been staying in some cheap hostel in Brooklyn and eating gas station food because Tyler can't get hired anywhere and Rebecca's been too embarrassed to call her parents for help. Tyler's been trying to pick up day labor jobs, but it's not enough for 2 plane tickets. The best part of all this has been the support from my community. My business phone has been ringing nonstop with people offering work and expressing support. One potential client specifically said that seeing how I handled this situation made him want to work with me because it showed integrity under pressure. My family has been incredible too. My dad called to say he was proud of how I stood up for myself. My sister drove down from LA just to make sure I was okay. Having people rally around you when someone tries to destroy you feels amazing. I'm keeping the post up. Rebecca chose to threaten me rather than take responsibility for her actions. She made this public the moment she stood up in that chapel and called me abusive. I'm just making sure people know the truth. Edit to everyone asking about legal updates. My lawyer friend says the financial stuff might qualify as theft by deception, but it would be expensive to pursue and hard to prove intent. The canceled flights were within my legal rights since it was a joint account. I'm focusing on moving forward rather than getting revenge through the courts. Final update. It's update final been almost a month since my life completely imploded, and I wanted to give everyone a final update because you've all been incredibly supportive throughout this nightmare. First, let me address the practical stuff that's now mostly resolved. I managed to recover about 60% of the wedding deposits, which was way better than I expected. Vendors were surprisingly understanding when I showed them the evidence of what actually happened. The venue manager at the montage said she'd never seen anything like it in 15 years and actually comped all the room charges and coordination fees. The photographer gave me a partial refund and threw in all the raw files from the ceremony for legal purposes. Rebecca did eventually pay me back for exactly half the wedding costs, but only after her father got directly involved. Mr. Anderson called me about 2 weeks ago and apologized again, said he wanted to make things right financially. The check came from their family business account, not Rebecca personally. I appreciated the gesture, but it felt hollow knowing she still wasn't taking personal responsibility for any of it. Speaking of responsibility, I never took down the Facebook post. The social media attention has mostly died down now, but it had some interesting long-term effects. Rebecca apparently had to delete her Instagram and LinkedIn accounts entirely because people wouldn't stop commenting. She also had to leave her marketing job because too many clients recognized her and her company was worried about their reputation. According to mutual friends, she's working retail now while looking for something in her field. Tyler never got his bar job back and has been doing Uber Eats delivery. Tyler and Rebecca broke up before they even made it back from New York. Apparently being stuck in New York with no money and facing social media backlash wasn't as romantic as they expected. Jake said Tyler is realizing he messed up, and Rebecca is completely losing her mind. I feel absolutely nothing about this news, which I'm taking as a good sign for my healing process. Work has been absolutely insane in the best possible way. Word spread throughout the Orange County construction community about how I handled this situation, and somehow it's made people trust me more, not less. I've gotten 3 new major commercial contracts in the past month, including a restaurant renovation that could lead to a whole chain of projects. My crew has been incredible throughout all this. These are guys I've worked with for years, and they had my back completely. When clients or vendors asked about the wedding situation, they vouched for my character without me even asking. Having that professional respect and support meant everything. I've been working out regularly again. I've been reading books she thought were boring. I bought a new mountain bike without asking anyone's permission. Small things, but they add up to feeling like myself again. One really unexpected positive. My relationship with my family has gotten significantly stronger. My parents were devastated about the wedding situation, but watching how I handled everything made them proud in a way they'd never expressed before. My dad told me he always worried I was too soft and that people would take advantage of me. But seeing me stand up for myself and handle adversity changed his entire perspective. My mom said watching me choose dignity over drama reminded her why she raised me the way she did. My sister has been amazing too. She flew out from Kansas 2 weeks ago just to hang out and make sure I was really okay. We spent a weekend hiking and talking through everything. Having family support like that is irreplaceable. I'm doing really well now, better than well actually. This community has been absolutely incredible through all of this. Thank you for helping me see clearly when I couldn't think straight. I'm signing off from this saga. Life's good. I'm grateful and I'm excited about what comes next. Peace, everyone.